The home of Lena Greeley in Elbow Lake. She was born January 26, 1920. She was the youngest daughter and the seventh child born to George and Rosina Weigand. She was born on the Weigand farm west of Wendell. Lena, when did you move to Wendell?
We moved to Wendell in September of 1936.
And you were about how old then?
16.
Now, unlike your brothers and sisters, you were able to attend high school. Where did you attend?
Elbow Lake.
If I remember right, were you a little bit older than the usual?
When I started school, my class was graduating, so I was 4 years behind.
What did you do after you graduated from high school?
From high school, I went to Minneapolis Business College.
And did you work down in Minneapolis then?
I worked for Firestone for 3 years, and then I came back to Elbow Lake, and I worked for the county attorney, I.L. Swanson, for about 25 to 30 years. And I worked at the Grant County Hospital for 1 year. And then I went back to the county attorney, and from there I went to the courthouse, and I was court administrator for 8 years.
Okay, Lena has raised two lovely daughters, Teresa and Susan. Will you tell me about your daughters, where they live, what they are doing, and your grandchildren also?
Teresa lives in Palm Desert, California, with her family. She has 2 boys. She is an RN, but at the present she is working with her husband, who is a contractor, so she is busy with bookkeeping and office work. Susan is working for the national office of the new merger, Evangelical Lutheran Church of America.
And can you tell me some of the things she's doing? I know she's doing some very interesting work.
Well, she is going to be the TV producer and editing it. She travels quite a lot. She's been in Savannah, Georgia. She's been out in South Carolina. And right after Thanksgiving, she'll be leaving for Florida for 1 week.
I would like you to share some of your memories of your growing up years. Oh, maybe some of the things you did for Christmas holidays or any of the holidays, birthdays, or just some of the things you did as a family.
Well, we usually got together at my home celebrating Christmas. And of course we were a large family, so it took a large house, and we all seemed to have a good time at home there. And as far as birthday parties, I don't think we had too many of those, and I can remember it when we were small.
And I know you girls all did a lot of embroidering and so forth, so I'm sure you spent a lot of time doing some of those things, and your mother taught you a lot of those?
Mother did teach us. She always encouraged us to do fancy work. We did a lot of embroidery, and then later we learned to crochet and knit.
Did you play games in the evenings, things like that?
Oh, we played a lot of cards. We played a lot of cards. There were so many of us. We learned from each other and played with our neighbors too, of course.
Well, I was very active in high school activities and needed to stay after school. Well, that is for practicing of some kind or another, and sometimes had to be back by 7. Anyway, the Greeley home was always open to me, and it was always such a pleasant place to come. And I guess now I'd like to thank you for all the evenings you had me stay here, and for all the suppers you served me, and it was just a very nice place to come to.
It was enjoyable for us, and we missed it after you all graduated.
Lena, I know you've worked for many, many years, and you have recently retired. Are you enjoying your retirement?
I love it.
What are some of the things you're doing now in your retirement?
Well, if you look around the room, I think you will see what a lot of my time is spent. I enjoy it, and I enjoy people ordering from me so that I can pass it on to someone else. and I like to play bridge. I like to, my church work. I'm right now the treasurer of our Ladies' Aid,
What church are you a member of?
United Lutheran in Elm Lake. And other than that, I guess it was the usual things.
After your retirement, or even before your retirement, I know you've gone on several trips. Could you tell us about some of them and some of the places you've been?
Well, I went to Bogota, Colombia, South America, when Susan and Brian were living there. That was in 1985, I believe. And then I was, let's see, in 1983, I can't remember when did I go. I went to Hawaii. And just recently, this summer, I went to Germany, Switzerland, Italy, and Austria.
Okay, being this tape is focusing on my Weigand heritage, your trip to Germany interests me. And I was wondering if you can tell me some of the things about Germany.
Well, of course, both my mother and father came from Germany. And we, on the tour, I came very close to where my mother came from. The buildings, I noticed, were quite different from ours, the architect part of it. And they were beautiful, and they had beautiful flowers all over. We especially noticed the women out in the fields. They were raking hay, usually by hand, and they wore long skirts. Quite often they had something on their head, but it was very interesting.
The countryside, what did you see? Was it mountainous, hilly, flat?
Oh, I would say a lot of mountains. A lot of mountains.
I've understood Germany is a very beautiful country.
It's beautiful, and Austria was beautiful. Italy, it was, you could see poverty in Italy.
Did you see much of that kind of thing where you were in Germany, or?
Well, yes, and smaller towns we could see there were places that were closed, but it wasn't like Italy.
Well, Lena, you and I have shared some fun and some special times together. One of them being the craft shows that we've had in Grand Forks. And they've been a highlight for me. I guess I remember the first time you went with me. Mom and Clara also were along. Now, we had had a very good show and decided to call Cynthia. And we were pretty excited about everything, and Cynthia told me afterwards, if I hadn't have known you so well, I would have thought you'd been out living it up. And she was telling Dave about it and feeling a little bit left out. So the next 2 or 3 years, Dave brought her up so she could go along with us, and then he usually went hunting. And do you remember our blue van?
Oh yes, I remember that.
Well, it was so full that Cynthia needed to drive her car besides. And I guess that was the year of the Cabbage Patch craze. And I guess that year was the ball. We just had a really good time. You and Cynthia and Mom and Clara and I. What fun memories. And we'd always go out on Saturday night afterwards and have a real nice dinner and time together. And they were really some great weekends. And some of the things you see here are the things that you had at that craft show. All those beautiful angels. And I believe the one in the middle is a new pattern of yours this year.
That's right.
And as you can imagine, there wasn't another person at the East Grand Forks craft show that had anything like this. And I also remember that usually by noon your angels were all sold out.
Yes, we certainly did have.
basket you see here in the picture is the one that Lena crocheted for Sandy's wedding. And I think you did about a dozen of them. And they were used as centerpieces for the reception of her wedding. Can you tell me where you learned to crochet?
I learned from my mother, and then I also had some books that I learned.
And I imagine you've been doing this since you were quite a young girl.
Oh yes, many years now.
Wouldn't your mom be proud of you and to see all you've done and all your accomplishments? And to see that what her crocheting lessons have led to?
I think she would, and I think she would be very proud.
Well, you are a very gifted person, and it's truly an art of an artist. And I guess you are working on a project at this time, and I'd like them to see what just one order shows.
This is one order that I am just completing now, and I have several more to complete before Christmas. Hopefully I will.
Tell us how you get them to be so nice and stiff.
I use a combination of sugar and water, and I boil it, and then I starch these things and shape them over a cone usually, or whatever I can find that will be sufficient.
Mm-hmm. On the wall is a hat that Lena has crocheted and decorated. Very special to me. And I thank you for all the special times we've had together. And I want to thank you for all the memories and for taking time to share some of them with us today.
Well, it's been my pleasure. Thank you. He's off, isn't it?